Welcome to another episode of the Competitive Programming Podcast. Today's guest is a man of many talents. He is a finalist at many major programming competitions: Facebook Hacker Cup, Google Code Jam, ICPC, even achieving second place at the Google Code Jam in 2018 and the bronze medal at ICPC World Finals in 2015. His educational YouTube channel has over 300,000 subscribers. He recently set a very unique problem at the IOI in Bolivia. Can only be Kamil Debowski, Errichto. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you for having me and welcome everybody. Hi.
So let's start at the beginning. How did you get into the world of competitive programming?
I did a lot of math in school. Since I was, 4 years old, I already started discovering math. In school, I participated in many math competitions, so I won some national competitions. I never went to IMO. I was 1-2 points away from getting there. If I went to IMO, I would likely be the weakest member of the Polish team, so maybe it's good that I did not. I was good in not really proving stuff and a lot of knowledge, but quickly computing stuff. Not as quickly as you will see in some American competitions where they will tell you 2 10-digit numbers and you will multiply them in your head, but still I was good at solving such problems. In middle school, I discovered programming. I learned Pascal from some online course in Polish. And at the beginning of high school, my older colleague told me that there is something called Olympiad in Informatics and I should check it out. In first and second year of high school, I did not qualify to the finals. I didn't have enough knowledge. I was close though. After second year of high school, there was new edition of Corman's, or maybe there was new print of Corman's Introduction to Algorithms. Earlier, you could get it in Poland only for a few $100, a used copy. But then actually it was reasonable to buy. So after second year of high school, I bought it. I read it, which I don't recommend to people. It's not a good book to read, especially from the beginning to the end. But I read it, and with that new knowledge, I was able to get to the finals of Olympiad. Then in uni, I got to a strong ICPC team with 2 IOI medalists. So then I improved quickly from there.
Awesome. And often today we see 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds that are doing amazing, but so you only got into it in high school, right?
I got seriously into competitive programming in high school, yes.
Cool. And recently you've been very active. You've started doing streams again. You've opened these group classes. You've set this IOI problem. So what does your life in competitive programming look now?
In the past couple of years, every year I am a chief judge of Polish ICPC stage, the AMPPZ, and I set a lot of problems there. So I review a lot of problems, I coordinate it, but also come up with problems. In particular, I think it was 2 years ago when 12 out of 13 problems were from me. I didn't bother people enough to actually give me more ideas. And when you start actually trying to come up with ideas, and it's not just that something once every couple of months will come in your head, then you will actually get a lot of ideas, at least when you have experience with that. And in particular, the IOI problem I set recently, the triple peaks, it was initially an idea for the ICPC stage. And I had 2 possible versions of that problem. One was more of an optimization problem, and I figured that actually Olympiad is a perfect style of a competition for such a problem.
And do you have a lot of time or any time to practice yourself to get better?
I have time. If I wanted, I would practice more, but I don't want to. I don't really feel a big motivation. I know that I'm on a downwards trajectory in terms of my skills of competition performance. My knowledge doesn't decrease that much, but my performance, it's also, a speed and implementation. And I would need to practice a lot to keep with the best. So sadly, my time to win competitions has passed, mostly. It's a pity, for example, that I never won a Code Forces round. Multiple times I was close. I was second twice, maybe 3 times. Once I was second just by a few points, by 1 minute. So that's a pity. But yeah, that was around 2018 was my peak when I practiced a lot for ICPC. And because of that, I also did well in other competitions. Now I participate in open competitions. I also want to still participate in a few Code Forces rounds to maybe get back to Legendary Grandmaster, but other than that, I teach, I create problems, that's it.
And I think apart from your results, people best know you for your YouTube channel and your educational materials and teaching. So how did that YouTube channel start? Like when you started, there weren't that many channels. So what made you decide to try it?
Yeah, you can, I don't remember when exactly I started, you can check it later. It should be around 5 years ago. But I kept in mind that maybe I should one day start a YouTube channel or Twitch streams. It's not that I was a huge Twitch viewer, but I was aware of this existing. And back then, I'm sure that we had stuff like screencasts from Petr. I don't remember if, for example, Tourist or Pashka were doing anything online back then. Like Tourist did screencasts, Pashka did teaching, but I'm not sure if it was so early. What was the final push for me was actually some small, not very prestigious competition. A company called PaySafe organized something. They theoretically called it a hackathon, but it was a programming competition where you could win huge money prizes. The first place in the world was actually $25,000. But you needed to get through an online round and then get to one of the few on-site sites around the world. For me, the closest was in Sofia. So I needed to fly there for my own money and so book a hotel, stuff like that. But I decided that the expected value is positive for doing all of that. I got just the hotel closest to the competition venue, again, to maximize my chances. After the contest, I knew that I won $5,000 for being the first place there. And a few weeks later, they told me, yeah, actually, you are the first in the world. That's $25,000. So I didn't need to worry about money and working for a few months, at least. And I decided, yeah, okay, then it's reasonable for me to maybe do stuff like buy a webcam and start doing this. And in particular, teach people. Because I already did some tutoring. Back then I did some math tutoring, so I knew that I have some kind of talent for explaining stuff. I liked it.
And what were your expectations in the beginning? Like, did you expect it to become so popular?
For sure not so popular, because actually my main channel, the 300,000 subscribers or more, most of those people are not doing competitive programming. They heard of me and they maybe watched a video or two as for some kind of, not really entertainment, but oh, it's an interesting fact kind of thing. You might watch YouTube and suddenly what you will see on the site is World Championships in Tetris, let's say.
Yeah.
And you can go and watch it for 5 to 10 minutes, see some kind of commentary. And it's not that because of that you will necessarily start playing Tetris. It increases your chances of doing that. But I think a lot of people saw that channel and became a subscriber specifically because of that. So my biggest videos aren't educational, and that's a little bit sad. I would prefer to have half of those subscribers, but everybody be really interested in CP. That's not the case. Regarding the second channel and actually the views from educational streams and videos, I think this is what I expected. Maybe even it's better than I should have hoped for, but yeah, it's good.
And you have a few videos with over 1 million views and some collaborations with, I think, Dramatech and Clement with millions of views. So I think that was a great thing to get people interested in CP. Do you get people telling you that maybe they stayed because of that and actually started doing competitive programming, or is it more, as you say, just a temporary
It's
interest?
hard to get exact stats, right? But indeed, I was in California for some competitions. I actually needed to stay there for a few weeks because within 2 or 3 weeks there were multiple competitions there. So maybe Facebook Hacker Cup, Top Coder Open, maybe something else. And I had a lot of time, so I reached out to like 2 or 3 people saying, yeah, I'm this person, if you want to interview me, because I saw you were doing interviews of, let's say, related stuff, then I'm there, I have time. And the biggest one is with Jamatech, where I'm sure it brought me a lot of subscribers to the main channel. Again, not really people doing competitive programming, but the numbers grew. And those biggest videos, they are often stuff like winning the round of Facebook Hacker Cup. So I was also lucky to win some contests back then. And people like seeing stuff like that, again, like with Tetris. The bad thing is that the Facebook Hacker Cup winning stuff had some downsides. I got some warning or a strike temporarily from YouTube because of harmful content, because it was about hacking. In comments, there were so many spammy comments, again, about hacking, either asking for somebody or for me to hack somebody's page or retrieve a Facebook profile. So generally, people do not understand what's going on. Facebook Hacker Cup is a terrible name.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's hilarious, but hopefully you got it resolved at least with YouTube.
I think my channel is okay. Yes.
And what do you think is the best way to draw more people into competitive programming? You've done a lot of work there because of these different videos.
I had this conversation many times with different people of how we can bring more people to competitive programming, but it will never be as big as some esports, let's say, because it's not entertaining to watch. There are formats that are more interesting, but still not interesting enough. For example, some optimization contests, like those you participated in too, I think, they have visual aside. So maybe there is a contest going multiple hours. You need to write AI bot that will participate in a video game, and you can visualize that. But still, it's less interesting than watching that happen where people steer something with their mouse. Right? There are faster formats like lockout competitions or blitz. Recently in Codeforces happened once, but competitive programming will never be that big online to watch. Another thing is how to bring kids to try competitive programming, and that's, I think, doing okay. Every year we get more people. If you look, for example, at number of participants in Codeforces. Back then I thought that maybe you should take a lot of people who are very good at math already and introduce programming to them, but I think now this happens automatically. Everybody knows what programming is, and if they are good at math, they will eventually try it.
And nowadays, do you prefer streaming, or would you like to come back to record some more pre-recorded videos?
Streaming is very easy to do. Especially streaming where I, for example, solve problems from a recent competition. Like the easy problems I will code, hard problems I will at least think about and talk about my thoughts, my solution, look at the tutorial to see if it's the same. The short videos are very hard and time-consuming to make. In particular, it's hard if you have a mindset of it should be very good. I think it should be a healthy approach to just think, I will do this in some way, maybe in 5 years I will improve it. If I want, I can re-record it. I wish that I had that way of thinking from the very beginning. Because when I look at my first videos, for example, the sound quality is terrible, and that's very bad. The quality of the video of the camera doesn't matter too much, but the sound is important. And also another thing is that I have some videos that I'm very proud of in terms of educational value, and still they are nowhere near to the viewership of those videos, like you mentioned, 1 million views for, let's say, winning a Facebook Hacker Camp round. So, what's the point, you might say. On the other hand, when I go to on-site competitions, either as a participant or as a coach, guest, something like that, I get approached by people who say they started competitive programming because of me, and I don't do a very detailed survey with them, but I'm sure that for some of them it's because of the big videos as well. In the near future, I want to continue streaming again because it's easy, and I want to again do some videos, hopefully with this approach of it doesn't need to be perfect, and I don't really need to spend a full day preparing and thinking about good problems, good examples, good snippets of code, and then thinking from time to time in the background for the next few days, should I improve something there?
Yeah, I scrapped many videos as well with the perfectionist mindset, so I know what you mean. So you've said multiple times that you'd like competitive programming to be your job, and you've left university and are not pursuing like the maybe standard path of a software engineering job. How has that path been in comparison to maybe your peers that are doing like the software engineering path?
It's of course very different. When you become a software engineer or developer, well, their job is more regular. Most people will work 8 hours a day, and I don't need to do it. Maybe recently I do more than that, but it's just temporary. So if I average over the past few years, I certainly work less than 40 hours a week. That's a good thing. The money is worse. I have colleagues who earn a few times more than me, and well, that's okay. I don't need that much. Maybe the downside of that is that if I stop working in 5-10 years, maybe because my job becomes less needed because of AI, then I don't have that much money to retire. Right? It might become an issue in the future. So hence maybe I should do more of stuff like group classes indeed. Other than that, well, I'm okay living in Poland. So working remotely, this is a perfect combination. Poland isn't that expensive of a country, though it's getting there, and the difference between Poland and the West is becoming smaller every year, or maybe every 5 years. And for me personally, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and what do you think is like the biggest obstacle in the competitive programming community to be more self-sustaining, I guess, to introduce more money into the community for organizing contests, paying setters? Because I think a lot of people do a lot of work as volunteers, and then they burn out, and we lose a lot of good people. And also, like, if a company decides to stop investing in competitive programming like Google, we lose great competitions like Google Code Jam. So I'm sure you had a thought of this, and do you have any ideas how we could improve this?
When I have those ideas, I share them with people and with the companies as well. From time to time, I'm in talks with some company, trying to convince them to do something. So the community becoming more self-sustaining, it mainly, I think, boils down to getting money from the companies. And actually, there are arguments for both sides. For example, why should a random, especially small company, spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on some competition if later participants can go work anywhere? On the other hand, especially if you're a big enough company, spending even a few millions of dollars per year for some kind of, let's say, advertisement, HR costs, costs of recruitment, isn't really a big deal. It's a small part of your HR budget anyway, and getting few strong engineers in the future might be worth it. I think for sure it's worth it. In particular, I'm heavily convinced that Google Code Jam stopping, so Google discontinuing the competitions like Kickstart and Code Jam was a very bad idea. They saved some money in short term, but I think they lost a lot long term. And companies like that certainly should sponsor the competitions or organize their own, especially if something is treated as the biggest, most prestigious individual competition out there. I'm talking about Google Code Jam. Huawei or JetBrains, or HFT companies, they still put a lot of money in our community, and I think that's good. In particular, I do work with Huawei a little bit. I'm not employed full time, but I work with them a little bit, B2B, and I sometimes advise or help them with what to do, what to organize internally. And I think because of that, they have way bigger presence in Europe than they would get otherwise without sponsoring the competitions. And they have such a scale that it's certainly worth it. Another thing other than getting money from companies is that maybe a similar community that is chess, they will have maybe also sponsors that do not care about then employing those people. But what are those sponsors? It will be general stuff, so tailored or suited to just viewers of the competitions, and that's not so good in our community because people will prefer to watch other things online, like esports again. But also there is some money in just companies doing chess, right? Chess.com. There is money there in coaching and so on. I think in programming it's not, or in competitive programming specifically, it's not that big. I was actually thinking whether I should sponsor a Codeforces round, for example. Of course, it's such a smaller scale. Like we're talking about a scale that is of magnitude 1,000 times lower than Huawei sponsoring ICPC. Or maybe OpenAI sponsoring IY recently. I don't know the deal of that. But if I indeed go into bigger group classes, for example, then maybe it's viable for me to sponsor a Codeforces round. And with stuff like that, it should help the community. Though also, I think people in Codeforces, in competitive programming, are used to free stuff, free materials. And if, for example, Mike Mirzayanov introduced a $1 fee per month to participate in Codeforces, people would hate it. Though it would be still so cheap. But he shouldn't do it because people will hate it.
Yeah, but we're, I guess, used it to many free things, but it might be a detriment on another.
It's too late to change it.
Yeah. And because of your other achievements, people often forget like your problem setting record. You previously set at Coda Grand Contest. You said you do a lot of setting for Polish contests, and recently we talked about your triple peaks problem at the II. So before we get into that problem, what is your favorite problem that you've set?
My favorite problem? Apart from very difficult problems that I'm just proud of because of the difficulty, I think I very much like the parade problem from algorithmic engagements. The statement was simple: given few 100,000 points, 300,000, choose 500 points and do TSP optimally on them. Find the shortest path between those points. And it has an algorithmic solution, a very normal algorithmic solution. So I'm proud of that. And there are a few just very hard problems that I created that often took me maybe more than few hours to come up with, because you will have some ideas, you work on them, sometimes improve the problem, change the statement. And in total, I'm sure that there exists a problem that I spent 100 hours on without coding time and preparation, the tests. Just because for a few months, maybe I kept that in mind and I thought about something similar. Now that I think about it, 100 hours seems crazy, but 50, yeah, I'm positive on that. So if I am to think about something very hard I created, there was one CodeChef snack down that is a problem that was very hard, and it's an ICPC contest where nobody solved it, I think including Tourist, who was there back then, or Umnik, I think, his team won. But a year ago I created one nice task for ICPC, or 2 years ago for Polish ICPC, where it said that you have n items, each with a price in one shop and price in the other shop. Every shop offers a discount of, if you buy a product, the second one you get for free, second cheaper, and you need to buy those n items optimally. It 200,000 items. It has a very hard solution. I'm sure that there are also easy problems that I'm proud of, but I don't really remember them.
Yeah.
They are supposed to be nice to beginners, not really interesting to us.
Yeah. And I remember the parade problem. It came out when I was preparing for IOI, and I thought it was the craziest problem.
Yeah.
It's very non-standard.
It's unusual, and that's some measure of quality of
Yeah.
problems, not to be similar to other things.
Yeah.
I discard so many problems in my head just because they seem standard, and even though I don't recall them happening in the competition, even without checking online, I can say, yeah, I would be surprised if nobody ever came up with something like that, so I will not even Google it.
Yeah. And do you wish you had more time for this, or is problem setting something you do like when a problem just comes into your head, or how does it work for you?
From time to time, I'm inspired, maybe by a board game, video game, by walking around the city. When I came up with one problem when I was at the airport and I needed to hurry through, a big airport, and there were escalators and stuff like that, and those moving walkways through the airport, where if you stand on it, it will move you forward, right? But I was in hurry, I needed to run, but still preserve my energy partially, right? Because I couldn't run full speed for 15 minutes. And I just came up with the fact that actually when being on this walkway, I should slow down a lot because it helps me push and it will do it for the time equal to me standing there. From that came a problem on Codeforces called moving walkways, where you need to, there is some description of this energy thing and you need to do it optimally. But still, as I said earlier, I come up with more problems if I try to do it. If I need it for a competition, then I will, for multiple days or weeks, spend some time per day with pen and paper, just thinking, if I have a sequence, what can I compute for it? If I have a graph. But again, sometimes drawing motivation from real life.
And regarding the IOI problem we've mentioned a few times, you mentioned it started kind of as an ICPC problem. So I guess you weren't looking to do something non-standard, but just ended up combining two similar tasks into one.
Indeed. Okay, so the story is actually longer because the first version of that problem I came up with maybe around 7 years ago. Maybe 7, 5, something like that. And a year ago, when I was collecting problems from the Polish ICPC stage, I went through my Google document with this problem base, and I saw that one with some comments, and the solution wasn't even written, so I needed to come up with it again. There was a problem that was hard to do faster than quadratic. Another thing was to, I think, create a checker for that problem. So those actually creating, I think, a checker was equally difficult. So hence the two problems.
Yeah, and did you expect it to be more likely or less likely to be accepted because of its, let's say, non-standard form?
More likely. IOI likes non-standard problems. I think so when I came up with the fact that maybe it can be one problem just split into two parts, I thought that IOI is very likely to accept it. That being said, I'm thinking what I can say. I can say this. I actually suggested two problems for IOI, and I expected the other one to be accepted.
Oh, maybe we'll see it on some other contest in the future. And and I think this year they had a record high of submissions, or at least a lot of them. I think over 90 submissions, so it is definitely a big achievement.
They had 90 problem proposals for IOI?
I think so. I maybe need to double check that, but
that's
I remember.
A lot.
Yeah, and also I think your problem is the biggest nightmare for judge owners because now we need to implement a new problem type, right? I
heard already some complaints. That one thing is that this problem cannot be easily migrated to other platforms because it has two parts, two very separate functions, and already there were communication kind of problems where you implement two functions that will talk with each other, for example, encode something efficiently. But this was something very new. I also heard again complaints from the people handling the leaderboard that they so much hate the decimal points. And even I heard from somebody in the IOI, in one of the committees, that rounding didn't work perfectly for them and they needed to spend a few hours to fix it on the competition day.
Yeah, but of course that's the least important thing, since it's a great problem. So since you are obviously involved in almost all areas of competitive programming, problem setting, teaching, competing, I can probably guess the answer to the first part, which is what is your favorite area, but why is that your favorite thing amongst everything?
So, among what I do in competitive programming, what I like the most, you're asking. I think that problem setting is eventually very satisfying, but it takes so much time to get there. And in the middle of that process, there is the worst part of organizing the problem in technical terms, so mainly preparing tests for it. I don't like that part. I think that I'm very good at it, but it's time consuming and not pleasant. Coming up with problems, I think, is okay. Again, time consuming, it's the very bad use of your time if you want to earn a lot of money. But sometimes you get nice ideas, and then observing the contest and talking later with people for feedback, that's great. Of course, I'm also biased because I created some, I'm good at, I think, creating problems, and I created some that people like very much. If my only experience was to create one or two code forces rounds, and there were some issues with one or two problems, people would downvote the blog and would complain in the comments that, oh, it's speed forces or stuff like that. I would just give up and never continue problem setting. But something that is consistently viable for me, both in terms of earning money for a living and in terms of, I think, me being good at it, helping people and so on, that would be teaching. So participating nowadays is just some hobby for me that I do from time to time. Teaching is my job, and I like the job.
And do you have some part that's like, oh, I have to do it again, like the part that you hate, like?
The part of competitive programming?
Yeah, your job in general.
Well, when I organize competitions and I need to create tests for something, that's not very pleasant. In terms of teaching, I certainly don't like some parts of it, like the aspect of organizing it. For example, just managing people, maintaining some kind of spreadsheet with information from students, bothering with collecting payments, knowing your taxes, stuff like that. In particular, it was hard at the beginning to get somebody, some kind of tax advisor who will understand what to do, let's say in terms of VAT, when you do something like this, but not for companies, but for individuals abroad. And then education is slightly different than other areas. Like in Poland, for VAT rules, the tax rules, education is exempt from some stuff. And then you need to perfectly get a tax advisor who already worked with somebody who did educational stuff for people abroad. But if not, at least you need to get somebody who will understand the rules. That is slightly easier. That stuff is never pleasant. Another thing is stuff that actually I'm not doing and some other teachers online do is I don't prepare a lot of slides. I can spend a lot of time thinking about good examples, and sometimes I will spend more than 2 hours just coming up with what sequence I want to use to present some algorithm, because this will not provide any coincidences, equalities, stuff like that. But I don't really prepare full slides, let's say in LaTeX. I draw stuff, I write. Maybe because I'm lazy, maybe because often I cover things from the recent contest, let's say the most recent code versus round. If after the round you want to discuss the solutions, then you don't have time to prepare anything. But I'm aware that I could improve my teaching if I did more of this preparation side that is not actually about the way of explaining, but way of showing it.
And you're also involved in many different projects, but is there something that you always like wanted to do but maybe don't have time, and or would like somebody else to create some tool or anything like this?
There were ideas that I started doing and I gave up on. For example, when I prepared more problems for competitions, I started creating my own tool to help with that, to create tests and so on. Polygon is great, but it's online. I wanted to do something offline that mimics Polygon and then connects to it. There is actually a tool for that, but I wanted to prepare it. I even, when I was in university, I introduced that idea to my colleagues to do it as in one of the subjects in uni. You needed to do a project, but they didn't accept that. It needed to be more, let's say, standardized. I don't know the word, but it needed to follow some rules, and that wasn't good enough. I also still want to do other things like write a book, though it's such a time investment that every half a year I'm reminding myself that I want to do it, and I just postpone it. So I still hasn't started for real, like other than doing maybe 5% of the work. And I have even multiple ideas for a book. It can be collection of my problems. Around 50 problems maybe should be split into two parts, the easy problems, the hard problems, because it's for different audience. A book on algorithms in competitive programming. Again, I don't think it makes sense to do a general book, so either easy or hard, like perfectly split into just two books. And I know of other things existing, like Competitive Programmer's Handbook is good for beginners, and there is a free PDF online. That's awesome. But when I read it, I see some stuff that I would explain differently. Right? So
I know the feeling. Yeah.
I want to do it my own way, but for that I need, 1,000 hours. I will not do it in 1 month.
Yeah.
It needs to be a year of work. And anything like that, all those books that I mentioned, they will not be worth my time in terms of profit. So yeah, it's like doing it for half free, which is fine.
Yeah.
I just still didn't get to it. Something that actually can replace a job partially is to maybe make a paid course online. Maybe I will do it one day. I did start doing something like that a few years ago. Also, I thought about interview preparation. There might be more money in it. Again, maybe one day.
Yeah. And to get to the future, I guess, so where do you think competitive programming is going, let's say, in the next few years? Obviously, a lot of things are changing in the area, and where do you think it will be in 5 years, and where do you see yourself in that?
I think competitive programming will be similar in 5 years, in 10 years. It's a strange combination that we got COVID, and a few years later we got such huge increase of AI skills and usage, because COVID made us stop using offline or on-site competitions. Everything went online. And now with AI, actually it would be great to make all the competitions to be on-site again to prevent cheating.
Yeah.
Those are the important competitions. Now, if it's online, if it should be serious, it needs to have a lot of rules, like you need to have camera on and so on. But I'm sure that still it's possible to cheat in some way. So maybe that will change how we handle real online competitions, but I think platforms like Codeforces will still exist in the current form. Just like chess online still exists. I think that in chess, it's easier to detect cheaters because you make particular moves and you can analyze them, versus here you create a code, and I don't think it's that easy to check if it's made by AI, especially if you have some help from it. That's a pity. And in terms of where I see myself in 5 to 10 years, I hope that I will still do stuff similar to what I do now. Hopefully, I already have my own book or multiple ones. Hopefully, I don't need to worry about money, so I can just focus on free stuff like, I don't know, making live streams, right? Teaching, making videos. But I also see a possibility that in 10 years it will be way harder for me to find students for tutoring, because with online tools, just many people will have other free or cheap alternatives. Plus, also people will not care about programming that much. Like already, still companies need senior programmers, but I don't feel that going into the computer science area for your college is such a safe choice as it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely changed. And so good luck in the upcoming projects and everything. Thanks again for coming out here. I think it was a great discussion. So thank you.
Thank you too.
And if you enjoyed this conversation, you would like to see more of it, do subscribe, give a like, and whatever the other YouTubers say. Bye.